He's really the man, the Australian motorcycling icon in the pantheon of all motorcycle legends. He's got to be up there. And here he is helping me in the middle of the night, right? Broken down, right? Some stranger, some schmuck that's broken down, knocking on his door in the middle of the night in the early hours of the morning. He's there tinkering, because I guess that's what he does, tinkering, like working on machines, and because that's what he drives him. What an amazing interest he must have in that sort of thing. And then, like in the middle of the night, I knock on his door and he's right there, ready to help me. Just like, he didn't care who I was, he didn't care anything. He just saw that I was a motorcyclist in need of help, and he just did it, like without even batting an eye. Welcome to Twist the Grip Tales. My name is Alf. I've come on to read a short story that I wrote about an event that occurred to me some time ago now. Hope you enjoy it. It's called Winter Ride. The fireplace with its glowing embers signifies it is time to leave. You've been dozing on the couch. The remnants of the conversation have long ebbed into silence. The night air is very cold in Lilydale in the middle of winter. Your lungs inhale the oxygenated air as the front door opens and you cough and splutter. Breathing the frosty, humid air wakes you up instantly as you leave the smoky, cosy ambience of Phil and Kerry's cottage. You feel a little lightheaded. Phil dutifully walks you through the front garden to the wrought iron gate. Ivy drapes over the antique wire fence and infringes slightly over the egress. You both walk out onto the street. It must be well past 3 in the morning. You look up to the sky and it's alive with movement. Phil lights up a cigarette and draws deeply. Thanks for dinner, Phil. That old wood stove of yours sure cooks a mean roast. It was really fine spending some time with you and Kerry. Phil draws again. No problem. It was great to catch up with you, Alf. We haven't seen you in quite some time. Don't be a stranger. You know you can stay here if you like. In fact, that's exactly what you should be doing. No, Phil, exactly what I should be doing is making tracks. With that, you do up the last of your leather jacket, shake off an involuntary shiver. You become conscious of just how damn cold it is. Out come the keys as you come alongside your motorcycle. She's a beast. 1100cc Katana, gleaming subdued silver in the glowing night. More than 100 ponies and weighing just over 250 kilograms. A beautiful example of purposeful Japanese engineering. Form following function. Nothing superfluous. You insert the key into the ignition and turn with a satisfying dull click. The red, green and amber ignition lights glow in the dark. You reach down and turn the choke to where it needs to be. You simultaneously prime the throttle and press the start button with practiced automatic ease. She burbles into life with a deep, uneven drone and announces her presence, adding to the nocturnal soundscape. As the internal combustion warms the metal, you pull on your helmet and slip on gloves over aching hands. A few last words. The ritual is now complete. You bid Phil a fond goodbye and straddle the machine. The gear is selected and you pull away from the curb, making a beeline for the highway. The deep burble increases pitch as you roll on the power and select the next gear. The mighty torque of the engine effortlessly propels bike and rider along the road. The tunnel of light projected ahead, showing the way. Tiny water droplets form on the exposed skin of face, deposited there by the mist. The sensual grip of the tyres massage the road surface to glean information about texture. A feeling of exuberance wells up inside. You feel utterly alive. You feed the throttle on some more. Motorcycling is a cult. Its canons of freedom, speed, machinery, risk, camaraderie, adrenaline, and the open road. The journey is always more important than the destination. You decide to go home by a favourite route. Victoria Road, Switchback Road, Paynes Road, Jumping Creek Road, and then back to town via Warrandyte Road. The route affords big open wide blasts, long sweepers and tight winding sections. It is a good test of rider and machine. And there would be no chance of interference from other road users at this hour. You weave through the back streets of Lilydale to reach Victoria Road. You make the turn. Now a quick blast before switchback, accelerating hard, first, second, third, now braking firmly for the turn and leaning deeply. The machinery is at operating temperature. The reciprocating pistons transmit high compression pulses through the bike's frame and to yours. The mechanical din beneath you is hardly audible over the howl of the exhaust note as revolutions rise and fall, the ever-present sound of air rushing past, your form forcing its way through the invisible barrier. You struggle to maintain poise as your body fights against the forces being transmitted through the atmosphere and to the road, a symphony of sounds and sensations underscored by Newton's laws. Switchback Road is a very fast, absolutely straight section with a complete stop at a T intersection. Lilydale Cemetery is on the right before the turn onto Switchback. A little reminder to keep things real. The game one plays is to see how fast you can go before braking for the corner. There are 3 streets on the right that punctuate your trajectory. When you reach the last one, Meadow Fairway, you have about 1 kilometre to pull up. The Katana is capable of achieving around 210 kilometres an hour in this distance. And by the time you reach braking, believe me, 1 kilometre suddenly seems a very short distance indeed. Why do we do this? Because you can. The nightscape rolls and pulsates with the wind, barely visible outside the light beam. The blur of scenery is unimportant. Focus is on the road, the next curve, undulation, slick surface. The senses are heightened. You rush through pockets of warm air, then cold as the road dips and rises. Wafts of floral perfume, then acrid grass. Hay, moist and mouldy detritus, the smell of a creek as you traverse a small bridge. You settle in for the ride. Cold is no longer felt. Adrenaline is doing its thing. Initial stiffness subsides, and suppleness of mind and body imbue your being. You are attuned to the machinery, the surface, the probabilities, alone on the road in the night. Right onto Edwards Road for another short blast, and then left at Paynes. Paynes Road comprises of a series of shallow sweepers meandering their way to the top of a knoll. The Katana is on song as you press over the rise and feel a tinge of elevator stomach. Now on the brakes, descending into a shallow gully with a sharp tight and even sharper left, hands through wrists and arms to shoulders strain grimly. The sure-footness of the big cat always astounds. The scent of labouring alloy, petrochemicals and brake pads float up to engorge your senses. Now Jumping Creek Road. Jumping Creek Road is a road of shadows at night, the myriad of dips and rises and the mix of tight and shallow bends interplay with headlights to create a barrage of illusions. This, coupled with the fact that it is a very well-treed area, make it fraught with danger. Perception and reaction are key. No matter how many times you do this road, memory is never trusted enough to fully commit to the winding menace. You're reduced to playing it one surface at a time, making your calculations as you approach each curve and undulation in the moment. Weaving the bends together in series remains an impossibility. You have no intention of coming to grief and slow the pace. Simply enjoy the night air and take in the perusal of the tarmac, the forest and the stars, you tell yourself. It's good to be alive and able, let's keep it that way. Keep yourself in check and don't be lulled into catastrophe. Not to say the road doesn't seduce you into increasing the cadence of your cornering with its siren song. You roll on the throttle more and again. You scare yourself halfway to death with the inevitable miscalculations and cornering arrhythmias. The prowess of the katana saves you each time, and with each fright you slow down, only to be entranced into increasing your pace again. An addict. Somehow you make it through. There have been times when the universe has not been so forgiving. On other roads and other rides, a split-second indecision, some loose gravel, a slight miscalculation, or just plain pressing too hard, your world comes undone. In that moment when you realize that rider and cycle must detach, the focus instantly changes from resolute unison to damage mitigation. The forces at work must be somehow coaxed into kindness. Everything happens slowly. You feel no pain. Only the sounds and sights are observed as you and machine thrash about in chaos. Crashing, scraunching, screeching, grinding metal and plastic. Snapshots of a disaster as you cartwheel through space, catching a glimpse on each turn, hoping for no sudden jolting stops, but merciful, gradual deceleration. Knowing that each time your body thuds and grinds on the tarmac, you are doing damage. Burns from the friction, bruises from the blows, hopefully no breaks. And then finally coming to a whimpering halt among the rest of the debris. Still no pain. Your machine on its side, engine loping, in gear, wheel turning, smoke rising from smouldering spilt fluids. Your thoughts go to shutting her down, put her out of her pain. But to do this, you must move from where you've come to rest. From experience, you know an appraisal must be made before movement is attempted. You know that pain only comes on gradually as your body's adrenaline and pain management chemicals subside. How it feels cannot be trusted. More damage could occur if you inadvertently make a false move. Yet you know you can't stay where you are. You wonder how many times a rider's been killed after surviving a fall by a passing motorist. Got to get off the road. Can I move? How long will help be? Stupid, stupid me. Anyway, on this night things go well. You make it onto Warrandyte Road unscathed for the last leg. You begin to come out of the trance-like dream you've just traversed. You feel gleeful, satisfied for having survived. Also a feeling of vacant tiredness. You're running on empty and are ready for rest. An awakening sensation of cold, hot, burning damp gradually comes into consciousness on your leg. You look down perplexed. Smell is now obvious. One of the fuel lines is split, leaking petrol. The droplets have been atomizing in the airstream and some have deposited on your jeans. Partially because of the cold, but mostly because you've been oblivious to unimportant physical discomforts, it has gone unnoticed until now. Something needs to be done. You shut off the fuel tap, feeding the carburetors, and run the line dry. Some repair or duct tape you have can be used to stem the flow of fuel until you get home. Repair done, you check the fuel level, knowing that you were already on reserve. Damn, you are just about out. Start up and see how far you can get. That's the choice. You run out soon after. In the dark of a winter's morning, stranded on Warrandyte Road, you wonder whether you will ever get to bed. Scanning the near distance, you see a light. A modest house perched some of the way up a forested incline. A concrete driveway leading to a large garage beside the house, and light coming from inside the garage and from the front veranda. It surely is an imposition, but need supersedes decorum. You adjust and tidy yourself as you approach. You can hear someone tinkering inside. Excuse me. Hello? You knock on the garage side door, trying not to alarm the occupant. I'm very sorry to disturb you at this hour. Someone rustles about inside and you hear him murmur something inaudible. You gently knock again. He comes to the side door of his shed and opens part of the way, looking out inquiringly. I'm very sorry to disturb you at this hour, but I've run into a bit of trouble and wonder if you might be able to help me. An elderly gentleman, probably in his 80s, with a white shock of hair combed backwards, presents himself at the door. The halo of light streaming from behind obscures the detail of his features. As he moves about and the light changes, you see that he wears very large round spectacles and has a noble, deeply creviced English face. He has an engineer's dust coat on with an old Repco Brabham logo in the left pocket. He looks somewhat like an owl, the sort of owl that would not sleep if he had something bouncing about in his head. And you can see the intellect gleam in his eyes. I introduce myself. Hello, my name is Alf. I'm very sorry to impose on you at such an hour. I wonder if... Yes, I've got that. You're a motorcyclist, I see. So what has happened? Have you broken down? I should surely be able to help you. I know a thing or two about motorcycles. And before you say anything, I would be glad to assist one from the motorcycling fraternity. You know, I know how things go at times. He speaks with the cultured timbre of the Australian accent of old, the accent reflecting our English heritage, sounding English to an untrained ear. He makes nothing of the imposition. He's a real sport, so to speak. I imagine he would smoke a pipe when thinking deeply on a problem. Some way back, I split a fuel line on my bike, and before I noticed that I was losing fuel and could repair the line, it became inevitable that I would run out of fuel. It would seem Providence has led me to your door. You wouldn't have a little petrol laying around, enough to get me back to Box Hill. I see. How did you repair the fuel line, might I ask? Well, I had some duct tape, so I wrapped it around the split line. It should see me through to home. I can worry about fixing it properly tomorrow in the light of day. That will simply not do. Petrochemicals have a dissolving effect on many plastics. I should imagine the duct tape will not last very long at all. Tell you what, I should be able to afford you a little petrol. Come back when you give your beastie started, and I'll see what I can do about the line. You do need to return my canister after all. With that, he gingerly goes back into his workshop and returns a few moments later with an old metal fuel can. See you in a short while then. By the way, Alf, my name is Phil. He speaks in such a casual manner as to belie the absurdity of the hour and the circumstance, taking everything in his stride as though it was the most normal thing in the world. As I walk off with help in hand, it occurs to me that this is the second Phil I've seen tonight. One is a long-standing friend, this one a new friend. A night of writing punctuated by Phils? Curious. But something else. This new Phil seems familiar. I do know I have never met the man, though. I ride up the drive without my helmet, enjoying the sensation of feeling gleeful. The outside floodlight has been switched on. I position myself to best advantage. Phil comes out just as I shut down the engine. He seems very interested in my machinery. He takes a long, lingering look as he circles, studying my cycle in great detail. After some time he speaks. It has something of the ascetic about her, your machine. Something akin to a lethal insect, or perhaps a fine blade. She must be a hoot to ride, hey, buggerlugs. She looks a little heavy, but probably makes up for it with prodigious power and torque. Very interesting. I think I may have heard your rightest sound echo through the hills earlier on. Anyway, best not dilly-dally. Let's have a look at what seems to be the problem. He deftly takes the carburetor cover off and removes the offending line with a few rudimentary tools and precise actions. He returns to his shed and a moment later comes back with a new fuel line, already cut to length, and goes to work immediately. Within a very short time, the repair is done. The no-nonsense dexterity with which he accomplishes the task is incredible. His old hands have superior function, even though they look battered and worn. He is clearly a master and passionate about his calling. After checking for leaks, he fires up the motor and takes great pleasure in gunning the throttle a couple of times. She goes all right, very swift indeed. Better stop making a ruckus now. Shan't wake the neighbours. They do give me grief from time to time. Strangely, not everyone appreciates a fast motor, he says. Anyway, there you go, Buggerlugs. She's all yours. Now you can be on your way and get on home safely. I don't know how I can ever repay you, Phil. You've been a godsend. Thank you for your splendid generosity. If it wasn't for you, I'd be still walking back to Ringwood. Think nothing of it, from one motorcyclist to another. It all comes out in the wash, you know. Besides, you kept me entertained for a while. It was shaping up a tedious old morning. Better get back to work now. Cheerio then. I ride off renewed, thinking about Phil and how in the pantheon of circumstance he had appeared to help me. Next thing I know, I'm turning into my own driveway. I'm taking off my clammy, frigid clothes off and slipping under the covers, ready to warm myself, safe and sound. I lay there for a while, looking out into the dark, brumal morning, on the cusp of sleep, at the cusp of a new day, and it dawns on me who my sentinel had been. I leap out of bed and rummage through my motorcycle magazines. There he is, a black and white picture of a much younger man than the one I'd met, but unmistakably him. Same round spectacles, wearing a suit and tie, pens protruding from his top pocket, standing beside a Vincent with 3 other luminaries of the motorcycle world. I had met Phil Irving on this winter's night, and he'd helped me, one motorcyclist to another. Phil Irving, MBE, now living in Warrandyte, the legendary Australian automotive engineer, designer of Sir Jack Brabham's winning F1 engine, author of countless engineering articles and books, designer of the groundbreaking Velocette and HRD Vincent motorcycles, including the now mythical Black Shadow, Black Lightning and Rapide, a hero and ambassador for motorcyclists everywhere, and in my experience, a true gentleman and exponent of the motorcycling code. The end.
Alf, that is one hell of a story.
It's not to be expected in life that you would meet someone like Phil Irving. I mean, he's really the man, the Australian motorcycling icon in the pantheon of all motorcycle legends. He's got to be up there. And here he is helping me in the middle of the night, right? Broken down, right? Some stranger, some schmuck that's broken down, knocking on his door in the middle of the night in the early hours of the morning. He's there tinkering, because I guess that's what he does, tinkering, you know, like working on machines, and because that's what he drives him. What an amazing interest he must have in that sort of thing. And then, like in the middle of the night, I knock on his door and he's right there, ready to help me. Just like, he didn't care who I was, he didn't care anything. He just saw that I was a motorcyclist in need of help, and he just did it, like, without even batting an eyelid.
Well, you've woven this extraordinary experience into a wonderful piece of poetry, which is just resonant with anyone who's ever ridden seriously on 2 wheels. That journey of the cadence of the corners, the speed, that balancing of how fast do you go, how slow do you go, how much do I want to scare myself? This whole piece of poetry is just a brilliant piece of work, Alf.
Well,
and
I
commend
it.
you.
It was, you know, it seems when you write in a different voice than how you speak, and obviously as a writer you're always trying to speak naturally, but then, you know, there's the beauty of the language and the beauty of so many words that you don't normally use in normal speech that you do want to include. And it's funny because when you're speaking naturally and when you're writing, it's almost like you've got 2 different voices. The one where you're writing, which is still your voice, it's just that you get time to find the words, punctuate the sentences, write them beautifully. Because you've got all the time in the world, rather than if you're speaking to someone, it just comes out, you know, off the cuff.
Well, so often you speak to someone and you walk away and you think, oh, if only I'd said it this way, if only I'd said that. But
That's right.
With poetry, you do get the opportunity.
You get the opportunity, yeah.
To
and
write
I
it.
wanted to I just wanted the sensual experience of pushing a piece of machinery, you know, to the limit, and the risk involved, and all those sensations that I'm sure any motorcyclist would be aware of. You know, no one's ever really written it that way, you know. So I just thought I'd have a go at it.
And your katana wasn't just a katana, was it? You had a couple of fruity bits added to your katana, didn't you?
Well, you know, you always have to express your individuality through your machinery, don't you? And so, yeah, so, you know, it's funny because what happens in life is somehow the universe resonates for you and you meet all the right people at the right time. So I met, you know, Peter Van Meurs. The katana clutches are well known not to be up to the task, and he helped me, you know, gave me a built clutch that would handle the power. You know, there was a bit of work done to it, nothing outlandish, you know, just because I mean they were pretty potent horses anyway. They had their flaws. I had a 4-in-1 exhaust on it instead of the standard exhaust. Bit of work done to the suspension, you know, some head work as well. Yeah, she howled. She used to go pretty good.
Some head work. So she did put out a few more horses than the standard.
Yeah, she did. I don't know exactly how many, but I remember my bike was pretty old by the time the FJ 1100s came out. And the FJ 1100s were supposed, you know, they were the latest, greatest, fastest thing back at the time. And, you know, I came across a couple FJs in my travels, and I blew them into the weeds.
You showed them the way.
They were a bit shocked. Then, funnily enough, later on, many years later, I had an FJ 1100, you know, and I just used to feel so nostalgic for the katana. The FJ was, yeah, it was faster and that, but it didn't have the same feel, you know. It wasn't, and the 16-inch front wheel I always found lacking. They were a bit too touchy in the cornering. But anyway.
Well, that is a powerful story. It's a powerful piece of poetry, and it's a story well told and very appropriate tale of your twist grip adventure through Lilydale, through Warrandyte, and home to Box Hill.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Thank you very much, Alf. Really appreciate you sharing that with us.
No worries, Bruce. Thank you for letting me tell the story.